A rainy night. A newborn baby starts to feel warm. Not dangerously hot, not screaming, just warmer than usual. And suddenly, the whole modern house changes. The mother checks the baby's forehead again. The father grabs the thermometer. Someone opens a phone and searches symptoms they probably should not be searching at 2 a.m. The diaper gets changed. The blanket gets adjusted. The bottle is ready. The car is outside. The hospital is 20 minutes away. If the fever rises, they can leave immediately. Now, move that same fever back 10,000 years. No thermometer, no doctor, no clean bedroom, just cold rain, wet ground, a weak fire, and a rough shelter doing its best. Which is not much. The mother gave birth not long ago. Her body still hurts. She has barely slept. Her milk is the baby's only real food. The father is nearby, but he is not calm. He can bring wood, he can block the wind, he can watch the dark edge of camp, but he cannot measure the fever. He cannot drive anywhere. He cannot call anyone. So he stands there with wet firewood in his hands, looking at the baby like every parent in history who wants to fix something he cannot fix. The baby cries for a while. Then it feeds weaker than before. And that is when everyone gets scared. Because today, a mild fever is a reason to call a doctor. For ancient humans, a mild fever in a cold, wet night could start a chain reaction. Wet wrapping, cold skin, weak feeding, an exhausted mother, a dying fire, and a hard decision about whether the group can stay or has to move. So how did ancient newborns survive? Not by being tougher than babies today. Human newborns are a strange kind of helpless. A foal can stand within hours. A young monkey can cling to fur. But a human newborn cannot walk, crawl away, hold on, find food, or manage cold well. So the question is not just how ancient people loved their babies. The question is how they kept something this helpless alive in a world that punished weakness fast. The answer was not one magic trick. It was a living system. Body heat, breast milk, fire, dry wrapping, constant watching, and many hands helping one exhausted mother. Ancient newborn care was not comfort, it was damage control. When people imagine prehistoric danger, they usually picture something with teeth. A wolf outside the firelight, a big cat in the dark, a bear near the shelter. That danger was real. But for a newborn, the deadliest enemy was often less dramatic. A wet wrap, a cold night, dirty water, a baby that stops feeding, a mother too weak to make enough milk, a fever no one can measure. The ancient world did not kill babies only with monsters. It killed them with chores, changing, wiping, feeding, warming, watching. Except 10,000 years ago, missing one of those chores could mean the baby did not make it to morning. The first person who had to be protected was not only the baby, it was the mother. For a newborn, the mother was food, heat, and the first monitor. She was the person most likely to notice tiny changes. Weaker sucking, colder hands, a strange cry, breathing that did not feel right. Modern parents have tools around the baby. Ancient people had to build care around the mother. If she was hungry, thirsty, bleeding, infected, feverish, or too exhausted to hold the child, the baby was in danger. If the mother breaks, the newborn's life support system starts breaking with her. So, ancient newborn care began with one brutal question. Can the mother stay alive, warm, fed, hydrated, and awake enough to keep this baby feeding? That meant help. Someone brought water. Someone carried fuel. Someone kept the fire alive. Someone watched older children. Someone took the baby for a moment so the mother could eat. The mother fed the newborn, but the group had to feed the mother. The next crisis was heat. A newborn cannot control temperature like an adult. For an adult, wet skin and wind are miserable. For a newborn, wet skin and wind can become a countdown. The baby is small. Its body loses heat fast. Its reserves are limited. After birth, even drying the skin matters. Today, a baby is dried with clean towels, wrapped in soft blankets, and placed in a warm room. In the ancient world, the incubator was a human body. The baby had to be dried with whatever soft material people had. Hide, fur, moss, grass, plant fiber, or softened skin. Then it had to be held close, against the mother if she could manage it. against another adult if she could not. That closeness warmed the baby, made feeding easier, kept it quieter, and let someone feel if the skin was getting cold. The first crib was not furniture. It was skin. Now go back to the rainy shelter. The baby is warm with fever, but the wrapping is damp. Today, a wet diaper is annoying. You change it, wipe the baby, throw it away, complain a little, and move on. Ancient parents did not move on that easily. There was no diaper aisle, no wipes, no cream, no washing machine waiting politely in the next room. A wet wrap could make the baby colder. Dirty material could irritate the skin. Damp bedding could keep stealing heat all night. Keeping a newborn dry was not a small task. It was a daily battle. They used what the landscape gave them: dry grass, moss, soft plant fibers, fur, animal hide, bark fiber, or anything absorbent enough to change, dry, or replace. But if the rain kept falling, dry material became rare, the fire struggled, and the ground stayed wet. Now, the baby is not just sick. The baby is sick inside a wet world. That is the ancient nightmare. Not one giant danger. Just moisture, cold, and a tiny body with almost no margin for error. Modern parents here clean the baby and think that is obviously good. But in prehistory, even cleaning could be risky. Water might be far away, cold, muddy, or from a place animals used. If you uncover a newborn in cold air and wash it with cold water, you may solve one problem and create another. Do not clean enough, and the baby may get irritated or infected. Clean too much with cold water, and the baby may lose heat. Use bad water, and the baby may get sick. Today, water is a handle you turn. For ancient parents, water was a question. Where did it come from? Can it be trusted? Can it be warmed? Is there enough fuel? Can the baby survive being uncovered right now? They did not have germ theory. But they were not clueless. They lived by patterns. Some water made people sick. Some places smelled wrong. Some babies did better when kept dry, warm, and close. Ancient care was not modern medicine, but it was observation, repeated for generations. Back in the rainy shelter, the small problems begin to stack. The baby is warm from fever, but the wrap is damp. The mother needs to nurse, but she is exhausted. The father has found wood, but most of it is wet. No one is fighting a predator. They are fighting a wet cloth, a weak fire, and a baby feeding worse than before. For most ancient newborns, breast milk was the safest food. It was warm. It was clean compared with many water sources. It was digestible. It carried protection from the mother's body. It did not need a bottle, a pot, a clean cup, or a perfect fire. But natural does not mean easy. That phrase needs to die in a small fire. A newborn needs to feed often. A mother who just gave birth may be injured, hungry, thirsty, feverish, or barely awake. If she becomes too weak, the baby may feed poorly. If the baby feeds poorly, the baby weakens. Then it feeds even worse. That is the loop ancient people feared. Modern parents can measure milk, count ounces, use formula, or call someone. Ancient caregivers had signs. Is the baby sucking strongly? Is it swallowing? Does it wake to feed? Does it cry with strength? Or is it limp, quiet, and hard to wake? A weak feed was not just the baby is tired. It could be the first visible sign that the baby was slipping. So when the baby in our rainy night case stops feeding strongly, that is not a small detail. That is the room going silent. This is where the father matters. Not as the hero who solves everything. The father can bring dry wood, block wind, carry water, watch the dark edge of camp, take weight off the mother, and hold the baby for a short time. But if the baby has a fever, he cannot lower it with medicine. If the baby feeds weakly, he cannot force milk into it safely. If the mother is exhausted, he cannot sleep for her, so he moves around too much, checks the fire, checks the shelter, looks at the mother, looks at the baby, picks up wood that is still too wet to burn well. Useful, but helpless. A father who can face animals, weather, and hunger, but cannot fight an invisible illness inside a newborn. He cannot cure the fever, but he can reduce the number of other problems attacking the baby at the same time. Here is the real danger. One problem alone might be survivable. If the baby is cold, hold it closer. If the wrap is wet, change it. If the mother is tired, let someone else carry the baby. If the fire is low, add fuel. If the baby is hungry, feed it. But ancient life rarely gave problems one at a time. It gave them in packs. Rain makes the wrap wet. Wet makes the baby cold. Cold makes feeding harder. Weak feeding makes the baby weaker. The mother gets scared and does not sleep. No sleep weakens her. The fire needs fuel. The fuel is wet. Morning comes, and the group may still need to move. That is how a mild fever becomes dangerous. Not because fever alone always kills, but because fever joins weather, hunger, exhaustion, bad water, smoke, and time. Modern life separates problems. Ancient life stacked them. Back to the baby. The forehead feels hot, but hot compared to what? Today, a thermometer gives a number. Ancient caregivers had hands and memory. A palm on the forehead, a hand on the belly, a touch on the back, a sense that the baby is wrong. Fever without numbers is terrifying. Should they unwrap the baby? Maybe it is too hot. But if they unwrap it, cold air may hit. Should they move closer to the fire? Maybe warmth helps. But smoke might irritate the baby's breathing. Should the group stay tomorrow? Maybe the baby needs rest. But maybe staying means less food, worse water, and more danger. Every choice has teeth, so they watched behavior. Does the baby still feed? Does it cry strongly? Does it wake? Does it breathe normally? Is the body limp? Is there diarrhea? Is the baby too quiet? A crying baby is stressful. A baby too weak to cry can be worse. What could they do? Keep the baby dry. Keep it warm, but not overheated. Let it feed if it can. Help the mother rest. Avoid smoke. Find better water if possible. Ask the most experienced older women what they had seen before. Use plant remedies if the group knew them. And then wait. Modern parents hate waiting with a sick baby. Ancient parents sometimes had nothing else. Night is where ancient newborn care becomes a shift system. The baby needs to be near the mother for warmth and milk. But too close can be dangerous if the mother is exhausted and rolls heavily. The baby needs to be near the fire. But too close means smoke, sparks, heat, and ash. The baby needs to be covered. But too much covering can hide problems. The baby needs quiet. But if it becomes too quiet, someone needs to notice. So the sleeping place becomes survival technology, not a crib. A layout. Mother here, baby close, fire there, smoke drifting that way. Dry material under the baby. An adult between the baby and the open side of the shelter. Someone waking when the fire drops. Someone shifting the baby when smoke changes direction. That is the ancient nursery. Not cute, not clean, not safe in the modern sense, but arranged, adjusted. A shelter became safer because tired people kept paying attention. Now, make the fear bigger. What if the mother's milk fails? What if she becomes sick? What if she dies after birth? Modern life has options. Formula, bottles, donor milk in some places, hospitals. Ancient life had far fewer. The best chance was another lactating woman, another mother in the group, a sister, an aunt, a companion already nursing her own child. If someone like that was present, the newborn might survive. If not, things became grim. A true newborn cannot simply eat mashed food. Animal milk was not an easy answer. Without clean containers, safe processing, or knowledge of contamination, feeding liquids to a newborn could bring illness fast. The mother's survival and the baby's survival were tied together with a very short rope. Lose the mother, and the baby might lose food, warmth, and the person who knew its tiny signals best. A newborn was a group emergency disguised as a family event. Ancient groups could not always stay in one place. Water dried, food thinned out, animals moved, firewood ran low, weather changed, insects got worse. Without a newborn, the group could move by adult logic. Where is the food? Where is the water? Where is safer ground? With a newborn, the questions multiply. Can the mother walk? Can the baby stay dry? Can it feed during the journey? Is there a place to stop before dark? Will crossing that stream soak the raft? Can someone carry the baby if the mother weakens? A baby that cannot walk still changes the route. A baby that cannot speak still changes the schedule. A baby that weighs almost nothing can slow down everyone. That sounds like a burden, and it was. But it also forced the group to become more careful, less reckless, more organized, more human, basically. Which is annoying but useful. Carrying a newborn sounds simple until you remember one thing. Ancient adults needed their hands. Hands for tools, hands for firewood, hands for climbing, hands for food, hands for balance, hands for weapons. A mother cannot spend every moment using both hands just to keep the baby from slipping. So any soft material that helped hold the baby close became important technology. Hide, fur, sling, plant fiber, bark cloth, cordage, a wrap tied across the body. These materials often disappear in archaeology because they rot. But survival is full of things that rot. The stone blade survives. The baby sling may not. But for that baby, the sling might matter more than the blade. A good wrap kept the newborn close to warmth, close to milk, away from wet ground, away from insects, and quieter while the group moved. It turned an adult body into transport, shelter, and heater at the same time. That is not primitive. That is smart. A human newborn is too demanding for one exhausted adult. This is why the group mattered. Grandmothers, fathers, aunts, older siblings, other mothers. People who could hold, watch, soothe, carry, gather, cook, protect, and notice. Academics call this alloparenting. Normal people call it, please take the baby for 5 minutes or I will evaporate. For ancient humans, it could be the difference between life and death. Someone else could hold the baby while the mother ate. Someone else could keep the fire going while she fed. Someone else could watch danger while she slept. Someone else could say, that cry sounds wrong. The first childcare system was not a building. It was a circle of people taking turns, not letting the baby die. If the newborn survived the first days and weeks, the danger did not disappear. It changed shape. Later, when milk alone was not enough, the child had to enter the riskier world of shared food and water. That was weaning. Today, it is baby food, a soft spoon, a clean bowl, and a photo nobody asked for. In the ancient world, it could mean pre-chewed meat, mashed roots, soft fat, marrow, broth if tools allowed, or cooked plants. Every new food was a test. Does the child get stronger, or does it get diarrhea and weaken? This was no longer the first newborn crisis, but it was the next gate. Birth was the first. Leaving milk was another. The risks did not end. They just changed uniforms. So return one last time to the rainy night. The baby is still warm. The fire is still weak. The father has found a few drier sticks under the shelter. The mother is half asleep, but the baby stirs. An older woman leans closer. The baby's mouth searches. This time, it latches. Not strongly, but enough. Everyone notices. No one celebrates loudly. There is still rain. Still cold. Still no doctor. Still no promise that morning will be easy. But for now, the baby is feeding. And in the ancient world, sometimes for now was the victory. Ancient newborn survival was not guaranteed by strength. It was bought in small pieces. One feed, one dry wrap, one warmer hour, one fire that did not go out. One mother who got enough rest to keep producing milk. One father who could not cure the fever, but could keep the cold from winning. One elder who noticed the baby was too quiet. One group that slowed down because the smallest member could not. Ancient babies were not tougher than modern babies. They were fragile, tiny, dependent, bad at temperature, bad at fighting infection, bad at everything except demanding care. And many did not survive, but enough did. Because human beings learned to turn care into a survival system. Fire became an incubator. Skin became a crib. Milk became food and protection. A wrap became transport. Dry grass became bedding. An elder's memory became warning. A father's work became rest for the mother. A group's slower pace became a newborn's chance. Before hospitals, before doctors, before diapers, before bottles, before emergency calls, ancient people still had one thing. They had each other. And somewhere in the dark behind all of us, there was a baby that should not have made it. A cold night, a weak fire, a mother who had almost nothing left, A father who did not know what else to do. Someone stayed awake. Someone warmed the child. Someone fed the mother. Someone kept the fire alive. The baby breathed through the night, then fed again. And because that happened enough times, across enough generations, we are here. Ancient newborn survival was not a miracle. It was care under pressure. And sometimes, care was the only medicine humans had.